Were England actually that good, or was it just a bad day at the office for France?
Why been horrible?
Well, it's an obvious question, Rob.
Sorry to drag the mood back down.
No, it's true. To try and give a bit of context, that's as bad as I've seen France. And we were laughing about it before the game when we saw the French bus go past and there was like plumes of smoke coming from the back seat and Antoine Dupont had a Camel roll up in his hand. He weren't smoking, he wasn't. But actually, me and Goode were talking about this before the game and we looked at the weather and we looked at the makeup of the French team with Jalibert at 10 and the makeup of the England team as well. When the England team came out in the week, and we could talk about Finn Smith and Tom Willis and a team set up how I kind of thought we might have seen Finn Smith. And I'll let Goody talk about that as we go into it. But I had a feeling that England were going to beat France at the weekend. I had this kind of sneaky feeling in the week, but then when I saw the team and then when I saw the weather and I got to the Allianz Stadium and I felt the energy within 10, 15, 20 minutes of the game, and you saw the amount of errors that France had dropping the ball, and that's as bad as I've seen Louis BRA play, and that's as bad as I've seen Antoine Dupont play as well. And when you kind of marry that up, and that's an idea, England had a foothold in the game, even though it took them to the last play of the game. Well, it would have been if they got the clock right at the end, but it took them to the last play of the game to win that game. And I thought it was England's biggest win, I reckon, that I can remember seeing. Just the way in which they did it and who they were playing against.
Yeah, I mean, the French, we should have been, in reality, another day with 20-odd points down at half-time, aren't we? They butchered 3 try-scoring opportunities in the first half. Dupont, he was still really good at times as well, but like the drop ball for his try, he's scoring that 99 times out of 100 when he's dropped the pass. You know, Damien Penaud as well drops one 5 metres out when he's going to score. There was I think I counted about 6 clear try-scoring opportunities that they butchered. So another day they score 4 of those and it's a different game. But what this England team have said and we've seen is they have got fight in them. They stay in the fight, and then you realise the stat of France winning at Allianz Stadium. They've won once in about 20 games, right? So actually, the weather was a leveller. The French team rocked up. They'd had a Camel in the changing rooms, whatever they'd done, and they weren't at it. And they butchered so many opportunities that gave England belief. And then you look at some of the individual performances of the England players. Tom Curry, ridiculous. He was phenomenal. And I know they gave Finn Smith man of the match, but you could have named a few of the guys as well in that bracket. Tommy Freeman was absolutely out of this world. Wins kickoffs, chasing lost causes, not lost causes, but chasing kickoffs, winning the ball back, changing the momentum of the game. Obviously, his try from Finn Smith's crossfield kick, pre-planned move. We've done it 50 times, it's worked once, but Freeman gets his hands up above BLBRE and takes it, scores the try. He was ridiculous. Tom Willis, hard yards, hard graft, like making carries, not 50-metre carries or even 15-metre busts, but energy sapping carries time after time after time. And then Mitchell and Lawrence as well. Ollie Lawrence, great again, but Alex Mitchell was class. And he played 80 minutes. He was fizzing everywhere, back to his best. And it shows how much we missed him in the November internationals. And the thing with this England team is, I've been pretty critical of how we've been playing and, the way the coaches use the bench and, the way the players have been restricted. And I think the guys themselves went and found a way to win. Finn Smith putting a bit of width on it at the right time, chasing a victory, which it looked like France could score every time they touched the ball at times, but they didn't have the accuracy. And England stayed in the fight. I think of all the games we've lost in this horrific run, the biggest losing defeat has been by a margin of 9 points or something. So they're always there or thereabouts. We had the rub of the green with the weather, the lack of accuracy from the French. And another day, we could lose that by 20 points. But it showed the ticker in the team. It showed, how much it meant to them. Jamie George coming off the bench, Ollie Chesham fixing the line-out issues, because our line-out was appalling, wasn't it, until Jamie George comes on and Chesham. And it was just, the atmosphere was bouncing. We shouldn't have won the game, but we found a way to win the game. Whereas at times, and I've openly been critical, we've said we should have won games and we found a way to lose them by making substitutions. And ironically, it was your mate, Jim, I reckon, that cost France the game. Fabien Galtier, what the fuck is he taking Jalibert off for? England had, they were chasing the game a bit. He takes Jalibert off, moves DuPont to 10. And then they end up with Elliot Daly picking a worldie of a line. Yeah, Elliot Daly picking a worldie of a line. Round the back, Barassi in big trouble defensively. He's new to the test scene and, absolutely steps in, and Elliot Daly, what a finish. It was a brilliant day. The first half was pretty poor, but I reckon your mate, Fabien Galtier, has lost France the game, Jim.
Well, yeah, you say that, and that would be a big talking point over there for me. And you mentioned it kind of loosely there. You were talking about the players that played well for me, the bench. And if we want to just go through the makeup of the team, actually, it was a big call for Steve to pick Finn Smith. It was the right call, and we can see that now. Marcus obviously had an off day. There was a lot of things into the mix. He got moved away for the last kick for Finn Smith to take at goal, or the last couple of kicks actually to take at goal. But he actually dived on the ball when the kick-off for France at the end of the game and when the clock went red. So he did have a positive effect on the game. But the one thing that I wanted to pick up on there was the bench, because Finn Baxter come on, did really well. I was unsure of what kind of impact he would have. So Finn Baxter comes on, gets a turnover and scores the try, has a massive influence. But for me, and I'm an Ollie Chesham fan, like I am. He's a good player. He's a good test player as well. Eddie Jones was speaking about him before the game on the one-liners that he gave, and he kept mentioning Ollie Chesham. My agent looks after Ollie Chesham. You mentioned him there. He made a massive difference. The line-out that they ended up scoring off, there ain't many players that would have the aerial ability to take that in that moment. He was under a lot of pressure for that. And actually, you think of the players that haven't played that well for England that had an influence in that game in the lead up to that try. Ben Earl gets the turnover.
Playing in his rightful
in a position of seven, where I think we can all agree. There you go, which we've been saying. So he looked more comfortable in his position of 7. Okay, line out. Jamie George hits Ollie Chesham under huge amounts of pressure. The maul isn't an easy maul to deal with. It goes round the corner. Mitchell's picking it up from a blind alley, basically. And then they score a worldy try off it, and Elliot Daly, who again you've been a little bit critical of, and rightly so, about some of his performances, comes on, does really well, some hard carries, but when it really mattered most, puts the burners on. Unbelievable line to finish, but that whole move, and we got a great bird's eye view of it, was brilliant, was world class to come on and do that. And that's the bench. So that's your bench players. That is Jamie George, that's Ollie Chesham, and that's Elliot Daly involved in the most high pressure situation, because they had one shot. That was it. That was the only shot that they had, because Ollie Lawrence actually kicked the ball through, didn't he? And it was like, Paul Cole, you think that was the game for England? Yeah.
No, it was, talking about Elliot Daly, he's come from the wilderness to become the match winner. The line, there isn't many wingers that understand that line. You watch where he comes from on that blind side and the arc that he takes, little pump of the ball from Finn Smith, to hold Barassi, who got sucked in just enough by Freeman's line, who'd moved to 13. And then Elliot Daly bursts through. You've got DuPont defending at 10, who goes underneath the defensive line because he's not used to doing it, which creates an issue because Moefana stays tight, Barassi stays tight, the hole opens up on the outside. And it was, like you said, Jim, one shot, one play, and it was perfection from Jamie George throwing it into the line out, Ollie Chesham double top, taking the ball, and they were competing against them, weren't they? So, in a line out, you've got 2 inches tops just to have that window of opportunity to have the perfect throw. The delivery, the play, the shape, everything was spot on. And the Allianz Stadium absolutely erupted. So, mate, it was, to finish the game in that way is, echoes of Ireland last year. And we said it, didn't we, before the game, in the various suites and on the Allianz stage that we were doing. England needed a bit of luck. We needed things to go our way, bounce of a ball or something like that. And the luck was France were absolutely shite at times. They were amazing. And then 2 seconds later, they've dropped the ball when they should have scored. And it was easier to score than not score. And then ultimately, off the back of it, England stayed in the fight, showed ticker, showed heart, and get the win with a bit of magic at the end from a few of the old balls.
Hi everyone, if you are loving the Rugby Pod and all the content we put out, make sure you subscribe right here. Thank you for your support.
Do you want to see this Finn Smith, Marcus Smith 10-15 combination experiment again? Because me and Jim were chatting, and obviously you've got Furbank to come back into a squad. You've got Freddie Stewart. Where does he fit in that? Finn Smith had that kind of standout performance at 10. There's lots of kind of square pegs, round holes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, Goode, it'd be interested to get your take on it now, having watched the game. We haven't spoken about it, but we were chatting about it before, and we've both got our opinion. And I'm a Marcus Smith fan, right? He's a world-class talent. He's a maverick. There's a Finn Russell feel to him. There's a Quade Cooper kind of feel. There's like a generational talent feel to him. But I've always said when I'm watching England, something doesn't feel quite right with him at 10. But they were so good in the autumn at points, and then they moved him, and then they lost the game. So that's quite a harsh thing to say. But based on the weekend's game, right, against France, I know there was a load of errors, but the way in which Finn Smith played, it just looked more controlled. And yeah, there were moments of brilliance with the crossfield kick for Tommy Freeman. They're in the same team. So they've got that kind of connection. But there felt like there was more flow. And I know it's only one game, right? And the conversation will linger on. Marcus clearly had an off day, especially off the boot, and that'll be a confidence thing, I'm sure, from maybe Finn being moved up into the 10 position, and it's almost like there's been a few people pushing for that. But I just don't know for Marcus because, and this is, trying to say it in a positive way, it feels like he's a player that could be on the bench and can come on and carve up and just get given license to do whatever. But if England are going to play in this more structured game where they look more effective, where there's more kicking, where there's more of the kind of strategy and tactical and slightly slower way of playing, then I've seen enough from Finn Smith to be like, he's the 10. And if a George Furbank comes in, I actually prefer Freddie Stewart. Freddie Stewart's my favourite 15. And if I was an England manager, I would pick him at 15. And people are like, oh, he's too slow, he's this, he's that. I disagree with that. I think the way in which England want to play him with the aerial contest, but just on Finn Smith, I'm happy for the kid. A young man, the emotion that he showed after the game, the honesty that he showed, he was a rabbit in the headlights. Imagine the chaos that he's feeling in that game where there's balls going down, couldn't get into his flow. But the control for the last part of the game, the kick for Tommy Freeman, some of the tackles that he was making, and just looked right, just felt right from an England perspective.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like Finn Smith, what we did find out was Finn Smith is good enough to play Test match rugby. And I love the interview where he said I was a rabbit in the headlights for 20 minutes. But then he stepped up, England gained momentum in the game. He pulled out some great shots in terms of the crossfield kick, his game management, and just the little passing plays. And England looked good. What I'm not saying is, he should be our first choice fly half forever now. Like it is a question on how you set the team up. And I generally think if Furbank would have been fit, they'd have probably gone to Furbank at fullback and Finn Smith at 10 maybe. But what we have found out and what we love is Finn Smith is a quality international player off his first start. Like he can handle that level and play at that level and bounce back in a game when he did say he felt like a rabbit in the headlights. But, it's not the end of Marcus Smith. Like, do I like Marcus Smith at fullback? Yes, as a go-to option. I don't necessarily agree he should be starting at fullback, but it is a horses for courses moment for Steve because he felt he had to roll the dice a little bit by moving Finn Smith to 10 and moving Marcus to fullback, and dropping Freddie Stewart out the team, who I actually thought did all right against Ireland. But, if you're Freddie Stewart, you're knocking on Steve's door saying, Marcus didn't play that well. He's not in there for his goal kicking now because ultimately, as a goal kicker, he missed a few. And Finn Smith can be the goal kicker. But ultimately, when you're looking at it, you've got to back Finn Smith for the next game.
I thought Maro was good after the game, though, Jim. I've never really seen him speak like that before.
You're right. I haven't heard him speak like that.
It came across like very genuine.
Yeah. I think you can only be genuine in a situation like that. And I think he's been guarded. I feel like that's what he's been. He's been guarded maybe intentionally, maybe shy, maybe second-guessing himself. I don't really know. But I think we saw the true Maro at Toji then, we saw almost like the young kid inside of him, the man that was dreaming about playing for England. And look, there's a few things with Maro. I don't want to speak for him, but, he's involved with an agency that are trying to grow his brand. And there's all these things that he's being hit with from a young man and almost formed into this version of how other people potentially see Maro Itoje or they want him to be. I actually felt quite emotional for him. Like I watched it and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now because I like Maro. Do you know what I mean? I like where he's come from. I like the fact that he's captain of England and you could just see the raw emotion, right? And what it actually meant for him to play for England. I loved it. I really did, Rob. And I think with England now, they found their captain. Okay, I know it's only one win. Okay, it could have gone the other way. I get that. But so could the other games have gone the other way. The ones in the autumn could have gone the other way. But I think now Maro's found himself. I think that win was so big, so special. It gave them a taste of winning. And obviously I want them to lose against Scotland, right? But I think that you win the fans, you win the crowd, you win your freedom. That cheesy gladiator saying. And I think in that moment, that's what happened to Maro. I think people fell in love with him.
Yeah, mate, completely agree with you, James. Seminal moment for Maro, for Steve. For the team, Maro obviously led from the front in terms of his performance as well, right? And ultimately, the lads found a way to win. So whether that's the captain, the use of the bench, and we've been critical of the use of the bench and how the team came about. And do you know what I loved about Maro's honesty was they changed the kicker, right? So Marcus misses a couple of simple ones from the same spot, and it can happen to any kicker. And obviously the maturity between Finn Smith and Marcus Smith for the kick-in to be passed on to Finn Smith. And they asked Maro after the game, they said, as a captain, as part of your decision making, he's like, no, I didn't know it was I didn't have anything to do with it. Which, shows humility as well. And listen, it's great for England. We could be sat here now on this podcast saying England lost by 20 points if France are accurate. And we're now talking about Steve potentially who's coming in effectively, and everything would be on the Scotland game for Steve's job, for the players and everything like that. Yet now we're talking about we've had a bit of luck, the rub of the green in terms of France not being at it, some leadership from Maro, the players themselves, the bench was used effectively, the complete opposite of what we're seeing in other games. And here we are thinking we've got Scotland at home, we've got Italy at home, then we go away to Wales. We could win the fucking championship, lads. How are you, James? Sport, eh? Top level sport, finest of fine margins.
Andrew, I don't know where this has come from with you. I genuinely feel I'm more English. I'm more English than you. Like, that's what it's felt like over the past few weeks.
No, I'm just honest.
Like, my thing is, I'm genuinely happy for England.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Maro. I'm happy for Jamie. I'm happy for the lads. I'm happy for the coaches. I'm happy for Kev Sinfield. Like, I genuinely feel like that. Obviously, I want Scotland to win, right? But I think we all know the importance of a good England team. What does that mean? Well, we'll get on to Wales in a minute. You don't want to see England getting humped and wasting money on different coaches coming in because they've got to pay Steve off, and this fractured relationship between English rugby and the fans. It's important to have a good England team, right? To have a competitive Six Nations championship. It's great for us on the pod. It's great for the Six Nations. It's great for the game. So I only see positives in England beating France.
Thank you, James.
And yeah, you're welcome. And say thank you to me as well. Did I say pick Finn Smith at 10, yes or no?
Yeah, you did, yeah. You did. And is your tattoo now an English rose or is it still a tulip?
If we weren't playing Scotland on the next game, then it would be a tulip. But I'm Scottish, okay, but I'm a quarter English. I'm not one of these Scotsmen that hates English people. When England are playing football, I'll support England. I got no issue. I'm not a bloody turncoat. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a hypocrite. I lived in England. I played at Leicester, one of the greatest English clubs ever. Gave me everything that I have. But I live in Scotland. I played for Scotland. I love Scotland more than I love England.
Oh,
but
you were doing so well.
I know.
You were doing so well.
That's the truth, mate. The truth. I would have no issues, right? People would hate this. If England were playing football and they were in a World Cup final and they were playing against Germany or Argentina or Brazil's or whoever, I'd wear an English shirt. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I couldn't. Maybe I would. But I support Man United. They're an English team. Like, it's.
What about Cov City?
Yeah, if they get better, I will do. But I'm not one of those. I want to see England do well.
Yeah.
I was happy that England won at the weekend.
Yeah, class, man. It's nice to have your support, and we'll see and test that support when the Calcutta Cup comes home in a couple of weeks, my friend. It's coming home.
I am worried about that. It's
coming
amazing
home.
how it can shift. And that is the beauty of sport, because the momentum has shifted. Like, it really has. And we knew that game 2 was going to be so critical, and it was going to be the game that shaped the state of the tournament. You've got one team now, Ireland on for the Grand Slam. You've got France, who are pissed off, so they're going to be very good against Ireland when they go to Dublin to play. And you've got Scotland, who are wounded. Like, literally, that's what it feels like. It feels like, yeah, we're wounded because we've lost players. We've lost Darcy Graham. It'll be touch and go. If the rumours are correct that he's broke a cheekbone or a jaw, he ain't going to be playing. But that head collision in itself is probably enough to keep him out of the game for a few weeks. How's Finn Russell going to react to it? Do Bath want him to play?
Oh, no.
I'm joking.
No.
I'm joking.
No.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, no Sione Tuipulotu, like, where's the energy levels when we go down? Of course, emotionally you're going to be there, but momentum. And England now, hey, one moment in sport can shift the direction of a team.
Yeah.
In a championship.
And
it's cool. It's great.
And it did.
Six Nations is brilliant. Yeah.
And England are going to win it, right?
No, I think France are going to do something. I think France are pissed off, and like
30 handling errors they had on Saturday. 30.
Oh, it was
That's
crazy.
massive.
Watching Louis BLBRA make that many. Like, he looked like an amateur. I've never seen anything like it. A player of his quality as well. And then that had a knock-on effect, didn't it? He was missing tackles, and you could see the emotional kind of anxiety, and the Latino came out. And as I said, that's as bad as I've seen Dupont play. Yeah. I've not seen him play that bad.
Yeah. He still scored 2, though, BLBRA, and I'm sure I picked him for top try scorer of the tournament, so I don't mind that. I'm happy with him scoring 2 and England winning.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It shows that they've still got that French being French thing in them. I know it could be a harsh thing to say, but it's again good for the tournament. It builds it nicely for the last 3 rounds.
Pod.
Rugby pod.